Vanessa here. I'm doing the second installment in my TBR Cart Series, 9 months later. I was a little nervous having released all those YouTube videos. I don't feel like I'm natural on camera, and I still don't feel natural, but I wanted to continue the series and do the second shelf of my cart and read to you what books I'm going to be reading, read the back to you, and just kind of give you insight of what I'm going to be reading this year. So I've been on a fantasy kick reading Throne of Glass right now. So I haven't read any of my TBR Cart really. These are all romance and I'm really feeling like reading fantasy right now. I'm on the 6th book in the series of Throne of Glass. So it's been really fun reading that, and you know, those books are like 600 pages, 500 pages. So I'm doing a lot of heavy reading and I'm really enjoying it. But let's dive right into the cart now. And I'm excited because I already see what book this is. This is Incense and Sensibility. And it's basically a book that is based off of Jane Austen's Sense and Sensibility. I'll read the back to you. Yash Rajay, California's first Indian American gubernatorial candidate, has always known exactly what he wants and how to use his privileged background to get it. He attributes his success to a simple mantra: if you control your feelings, you can control the world. But when a hate crime at a rally critically injures his friend, Yash's easy life suddenly feels like a lie, his control an illusion. When he tries to get back on the campaign trail, he blacks out with panic. Desperate to keep Yash's condition from leaking to the media, his family turns to the one person they trust, his sister's best friend, India Dashwood, California's foremost stress management coach. Raised by a family of yoga gurus, India has helped San Francisco's high-strung overachievers for a decade without so much as altering her breath. But this man, with his simmering intensity and absolute faith in his political beliefs, is like no other. Yash has spent a lifetime repressing everything to succeed, including their one magical night together 10 years ago. A too brief, too bright passion that, if rekindled, threatens to destroy the dream he's willingly shouldered for his family and community until now. So I think this is going to be an exciting book to read. It's a little different reading it than what I had expected, but that's okay, you know. We'll see what this book brings. And next up, we have The Sister Effect. Now, I like buying books by the titles and the covers. This has two sisters sitting in beach chairs looking over a dock, and it reminds me of me and my sister up at my family's cottage, laying on the dock, tanning, swimming. So let's read this. Finley McGowan is determined that the niece she's raising will always feel loved and wanted, unlike how she felt after her mom left to pursue a dream of stardom, and when the grandfather who was left to raise them abandoned her and her sister, Sloane, when they needed him most. Finley reacted to her chaotic childhood by walking the straight and narrow nose down, work hard, follow the rules. Sloane went the other way. Now Sloane is back, as beautiful and as damaged as ever, and she wants a relationship with her daughter. She says she's changed, but Finley's heart has been burned once too often for her to trust easily. But is her reluctance to forgive really about Sloane, or worry over losing what she loves the most? With the help of a man who knows all too well how messy families can be, Finley will learn there's joy in surrendering and peace in letting go. With wisdom, compassion, and her trademark humor, beloved New York Times bestselling author Susan Mallory explores the ties that bind a family, sometimes too closely, in this uplifting story of love and forgiveness. So again, not what I was expecting, but I'm still interested in reading it. And that's what happens when you don't read the back and you buy books based off of just a feeling. You never really know what you're gonna get. And this is the first time I've actually been reading the back of a book before I dive into it. I'm probably not gonna remember everything that I read to you anyways, because there's so many books here, but you know, it's exciting to take a look into what kind of books I've chosen for myself without going in blindly kind of thing. The Island Villa. A messy family drama and a steamy little romance unfold under the Mediterranean sun for the perfect summer escape. Celebrated romance author Catherine Swift has topped the bestseller list for decades, so her personal story hasn't been quite so successful. 3 failed marriages have left her relationship with her daughter strained, but that's about to be rectified. Engaged yet again, Catherine is counting on this wedding to be what finally brings them together as a family, and she'll do whatever it takes to make that happen. Adeline doesn't know what's worse, that her mother is getting married a 4th time, or that she's being guilted into witnessing the train wreck of Catherine's luxury villa in Corfu. It brings back the pain of her parents' split, of her mother's infidelity, and the baby that was the result. Not that she blames her half-sister Cassie, but that then she's never made an effort to know her either. Cassie, on the other hand, is thrilled by her mother's news and admires Catherine's resilience. She's equally excited about meeting the mystery groom and at the prospect of spending her summer in Corfu, where she can process a secret of her own she's been keeping from everyone. As Cassie and Adeline arrive on the island, they each have very different expectations of what this week will bring. They haven't been entirely honest with their mother about their lives either. But in the lead up to the wedding, all will be revealed, for better or for worse. So this is exciting. I read last year when I went to Jamaica, Ellen Hildebrand's series, the Paradise series, and it all took place in the Caribbean, the Mediterranean area, and it was just, I love beaches, I love going away, and any book that can take me to the beach, that can take me to a hot climate, just give that to me. And I can see the next one. I've had it for so long, for years now, and I haven't read it. And this one is Don't You Forget About Me. It began with 4 words, I love your laugh, but that was 12 years ago. It really began the day Georgina was fired from the worst restaurant in Sheffield at TripAdvisor and found the worst boyfriend in the world at Georgina's best friends, in bed with someone else. So when her new boss, Lucas McCarthy, turns out to be the boy who wrote those words to her all that time ago, it feels like the start of something. The only problem, he doesn't seem to remember Georgina at all. It's very vague. But you know what? It's like rekindling a lost love. And it's funny when you think about it. Like, sometimes you wonder in life, do people remember me? Am I forgettable? And the fact that this guy left her a note and seems not to remember her, who knows? Maybe he's just playing a game and does remember who she is and just doesn't want to let on like he does. So I guess we'll find that out. Oh, I'm excited for the next one. I was in Indigo and I saw this on the shelf. It was in the summertime, and it's Summers at the Saint, a novel. Everyone refers to the Saint Cecilia as the Saint. If you grew up coming here, you were a saint. If you came from the wrong side of the river, you were an ain't. Tracy Eddings was one of those outsiders whose family wasn't rich or connected enough to vacation here, but she could work here. One fateful summer she did, and she married the boss's son. Now she's the widowed owner of the hotel, determined to see it return to its glory days as staff shortages and financial troubles threaten to ruin it. Plus, her greedy and unscrupulous brother-in-law wants to make sure she fails. Tracy enlists a motley crew of recently hired summer help, including the daughter of her estranged best friend, and she has one summer season to turn it around. But new information about a long-ago drowning at the hotel threatens to come to light, and the tragic death of one of their own brings Tracy to the brink of despair. Tracy Eddings has her back against a pink-painted wall of this beloved institution, and it will take all the wits and guts she has to see wrongs put to right, to see guilty parties put in their place, and maybe even to find a new romance along the way. Told with Mary Kay Andrews' warmth, humor, knack for twists, and an eye for delicious detail about human nature, Summers at the Saint is a beach read with depth and heart. So I love beach reads. Like I said, anything that is at the beach, at a coffee shop, at a library, at a cottage, anything like that catches my eye when I go to the bookstore. And And that's why this next one, the Paradise Problem, I've seen it all over Book Talk, all over Instagram. And the second I saw Paradise, I was just thinking beach, but I actually don't know if it takes place at a beach or not. Anne Green thought she was marrying Liam Weston for access to subsidized family housing while at UCLA. After graduation, they would sign divorce papers and leave it at that. 3 years later, Anna is a starving artist living paycheck to paycheck, while Liam is a Stanford professor and one of 4 heirs to the Weston Foods conglomerate. But there's a catch. If he wants his $100 million inheritance, due to an antiquated clause in his grandfather's will, Liam can't claim the money until he's been happily married for 5 years, and circumstances are forcing him to introduce his unpolished, not-so-ex-wife to his 1%er parents. But in the presence of his family, Liam's fears quickly shift from whether the feisty, foul-mouthed, paint-splattered Anna can play the part to whether the toxic world of wealth will corrupt someone as pure of heart as his surprisingly grounded and supportive wife. Liam will have to ask himself if the price tag on his flimsy cover story is worth losing true love that sprouted from a lie. So, enemies to lovers, friends to lovers, it's going to be interesting. It's not taking place in Paradise, but the Paradise is actually the relationship, I think. And if you could see, my cart always needs to be against this wall because it's leaning even worse. I think I put way too many books in it, but it's holding up pretty well, so I'm happy with that. I might get a new one that's a metal one, not now, but once this one is worn down, I think it's going to be worn out really quickly. Makeup Breakup, a novel. So love, romance, second chances, fairy tale endings, these are the things Anika Dev believes in. Her app, Makeup, has been called the Google Translate for failing relationships. High efficiency breakups, flashy startups, penthouses, fast cars, these are the things Hudson Craft believes in. His app, Breakup, is known as the Uber for breakups. It's wildly successful and anathema to Annika's life philosophy, which wouldn't be a problem if they'd gone their separate ways after that summer fling in Las Vegas, never to see each other again. Unfortunately for Anika, Hudson's not just moving into her office building, but into the office right next to hers. Plus, he'll be competing at the prestigious Epic Investment Pitch Contest, a contest Anika needs to win if she wants to keep Makeup afloat. As the two rival app developers clash again and again, Anika finds herself drawn into Hudson's fast-paced, high-velocity, utterly shallow world. Only from up close, he doesn't seem all that shallow. Could it be that everything she thought about Hudson is completely wrong? Could the creator of Breakup teach her what love truly is about? So, it looks like it's another enemies to lovers, rivals to lovers. It's all about apps, and it's talking about Uber for breakups and Google Translate for failing relationships. So it's kind of high tech and maybe there's AI in here. I don't know how you feel about AI. I don't particularly like it, but a lot of people find it helpful in their businesses and in writing pitches, and now AI can write books for you. So it's a little bit scary to think about, but also helpful. The Empress of Idaho, a novel. So I just bought this because of the ice cream on the front. I love ice cream. I love cotton candy ice cream. I love mint chocolate ice cream. This looks like strawberry vanilla. It's so good. I don't know, it just made me hungry and I wanted to buy the book, but I have no idea what it's about. Okay, 14-year-old Adam Lisinski is mesmerized the moment Beatrice Heyer steps into his life. Adam has a lot going on for him. He's hoping to be a starter on his high school football team. He has a fiercely protective mom, a girlfriend, and a part-time job at Eugene's gas shop, where he works with his best friend. But he neglects everything that matters to him. Beatrice, his neighbor's enigmatic new wife, comes to town. Soon he finds himself alone with her in the change room of the Modern U, a clothing store on 2nd Street, in the back row of the theater of Chapel Hill Cinema, in the front seat of her truck. He's confused about who she is, what she wants, and where she comes from. Adam is desperate, caught between wanting to spend time with Beatrice, whose past is catching up with her, and lying to everyone he cares about. The guilt overwhelms him, and when Beatrice convinces Adam's mom to quit her job and partner in a risky real estate venture, he has to do something before everything spins further out of control. The plan he comes up with tests his courage and leads him to an unshakable truth about loyalty and love. By turns riveting and tender-hearted, The Empress of Idaho is a story about the vulnerability and confusion of adolescence at the moment when it slams against adulthood. It's an unforgettable portrait of a boy's difficult coming of age. I love coming of age books. It kind of reminds me of when I was in high school and when I was in my early 20s. But this is a boy coming of age, and I don't think I've ever read a book of a boy coming of age, not recently anyways. Most of the books I read are female main characters, so I think it's going to be interesting to read one with a male main character. I always find that I relate to the female, so it'll be interesting to see if I can relate to a male main character. I mean, usually if the authors are good, you'll relate to, it doesn't matter the gender of the character, you can relate to them. But I've never read a book by this author before. Barefoot in the Sand. So I bought this one because it's a beach. She's in a beach cover-up, standing at the water, and it just reminds me of being at the ocean. I love standing at the ocean's edge with my feet in the water, walking the length of the beach. That's why I liked going to St. Martin, because the beach was really long and then it led into town, so you could walk the beach. And then there'd be little coffee shops, little pubs looking directly onto the water. And I also saw a condo building in St. Martin that was right on the water, and there was a terrace level condo that was for sale that had like a little patio that looked out onto the ocean, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like my dream, to retire or to be able to buy a condo in a Caribbean place that's right on the water and just be writing, looking out at the ocean. And I don't know if I've mentioned it here before, but I am working on a novel. I write usually from my kitchen table, but I think writing in nature, whether it's in a park, on the beach, is really soothing and inspiring. So that's why I bought this book. It's on the beach. There are moments that change your entire life's direction. For Arden Bell, owner of a cherished bookstore in the seaside hamlet of Elliott's Corner, one such moment comes early on a summer day when she opens the door to Laura Huntington, the daughter she hasn't seen in 37 years. Now the day has passed in which Arden hasn't thought of the baby she glimpsed only once before her wealthy, powerful parents forced her to give her up for adoption. Shy and sheltered, Arden finally mustered the courage to leave her Maine hometown of Port George, changed her name, and has barely seen her parents since. Nor has she heard from Rob, the boy she was so passionately in love with. Now Laura's arrival and her inevitable questions will propel both women on a journey to forge a new relationship and unravel the past. Amid revelations and discoveries, sometimes painful, often unexpected, they will learn the truth about a long ago summer and about the risks we take and sacrifices we make for love. Actually, I'm really excited for this book now. I haven't said it here before, but I am adopted, and I was adopted at birth, so I don't remember my birth family, but I have a loving mother and father, an amazing family. I'm so lucky and I'm so blessed to have them. But just reading about adoption, like even online sometimes I go read people's stories about being adopted, and not all of the stories are positive ones. So it just makes me feel lucky to be living the life I'm living with the family and the friends and in the country that I'm living in and the area that I'm living. So reading books on adoption, I don't think I've read a book where the main character is the birth mom, so it will be interesting to see that. Like sometimes I kind of wonder about my birth family, not that I want to meet them, but kind of like, do they think about me? Do they remember me? Like, would it be scary to meet them? What kind of people are they? But at the end of the day, like sometimes I just think it's better not to meet them and to stay with my family. Not that I would leave my family, but I mean, I'm living a happy life, so I don't know if I want to uproot that. To love and to loathe. Now, I love the cover of this book and the color. And I know when I bought this book, I was just looking for a romance, and I never read it. That's usually what happens. I buy so many books, I can't read as fast as I buy them. The widowed Diana, Lady Templeton, and Jeremy, Marquis of Willingham, are infamous among English high society as much for their sharp-tongued bickering as their flirtation. One evening, an argument at a ball turns into a serious wager. Jeremy will marry within the year, or Diana will forfeit £100. So shortly after, just before a fortnight-long house party at Elderwild, Jeremy's country estate, Diana is shocked when Jeremy appears at her home with a very different kind of proposition. After his latest mistress unfavorably criticized his skills in the bedroom, Jeremy suggests that they embark on a brief affair while at the house party. Jeremy can receive an honest critique, and Diana can use the gossip to signal to other gentlemen that she is interested in taking a lover. Diana believes the proposal could only help her win her wager, and so, with marriage on the mind, she heads to Elderwild. But while Diana and Jeremy are busy making bets, they tend to lose their own hearts. It's going to be another, it sounds like it's not a marriage of convenience, but a relationship of convenience. They both have their own interests in mind and are going to gain from this relationship, but I think they're going to end up falling in love in the process. The Big Dreams Beach Hotel. This was on the $3 table at Indigo, and of course they always have cozy cute reads on the $3 table, so I'm always looking there when I go. There's not always good titles on there, but sometimes there's cute ones that for $3, why not? 3 years after ditching her career in New York City, Rosie never thought she'd still be managing the quaint, faded Victorian hotel in her seaside hometown. What's worse, the hotel's new owners are turning it into a copy of their Florida properties. Flamingos and all, cultures are clashing and the hotel's residents stand in the way of the developer's plans. The hotel is both their home and their family. That's going to make Rory's job difficult when he arrives to enforce the changes, and Rosie isn't exactly on his side. Rory might be charming, but he's still there to evict her friends. How can she follow her dreams if it means ending everyone else's? So this is going to be interesting because it's basically about preserving a hotel to, how it was originally built, and instead of upgrading, which you see a lot in real life in movies, like people don't want to lose all those memories and lose the heritage, and I think she's going to end up falling in love with this guy who's coming to make the changes and evict them. That's usually what happens in these little books, but I guess we'll see. The next thing on my list, so this was another one, $3 table, no clue what it's about. Might be a love story because a lot of them are. After a car accident in which her passenger Marissa dies, June Parker finds herself in possession of a list Marissa has written, 20 things to do by my 25th birthday. The tasks range from inspiring, run a 5K, to daring, go braless, to near impossible, change someone's life. To assuage her guilt, June races to achieve each goal herself before the deadline, learning more about her own life than she has ever bargained for. Actually, this should be interesting because I always like books that have, like bucket lists, or I read this year Confessions of a 40-something F up. I'm not going to say the word here, but I always find it interesting to see people experiencing life, experiencing new things. I have lists that I make too of things I want to do, maybe not by the time I'm 40, but like things I want to do before I die. I journal a lot about it, and I write it on my blog, so I can really relate to like these books. Now this is just a little short, easy read, so I don't know how deep into this story we're gonna get. It doesn't seem like it's gonna be a deep read, but I guess we'll find out. So this book is 2 books in one, 2 from the heart. And I I've never stopped believing in love. I lost my first love to cancer when I was 33 and I married my wife, Sue, when I was 49. Experiences that influenced my romance novels, and 2 stories in this book are no exception. They come straight from my heart. In Tell Me Your Best Story, Anne McWilliams realizes that her life has fallen out of focus, so she takes to the road to ask a simple question: what's your best story? The tale she hears may be just what she needs to discover what she's been missing. Write Me a Life follows Tyler Braun, who has more money than he knows how to spend, but no life. When he hires a struggling novelist to write one for him, he'll become the protagonist of a love story beyond his wildest imagination. So this is a James Patterson novel. I have one other one that's not only James Patterson, I don't remember, but it was him, and I think a family member who wrote the other book. I bought this because years ago, my mom gave me a book of hers to read, and it had 2 stories in one, and it was the first time I had ever read a book like that, and I fell in love with that book. It took place in St. Croix, and the main character was sick, and she was living her life on the beach, and it was just a really inspiring story. So I just thought I would give it a try. Another small book with 2 little stories in them. You never know what's going to inspire you, and I wanted something about a love story, and that's what I thought this would be. 2 from the heart. It's 2 stories from the heart. That's what it means. And James Patterson, I see his books everywhere, but I've never actually read one, so it should be interesting. Making Waves at Penvenin Cove. This was another $3 find at Indigo. This was recently, actually. I added it to my To Be Read card. It wasn't here before. So Kara Shaw feels that all the pieces of her life are finally coming together. She has a fulfilling job helping small businesses in the local community, and most importantly, she has finally got together with her childhood sweetheart Ross Treller. But it's not all plain sailing. With an old family feud raging on between Kara's dad and the Treller family, it's best to keep her new relationship behind closed doors to avoid gossip. Still, Kara should know better than anyone that secrets don't stay hidden for long in the small Cornish village of Penvenin Cove. As other truths come to light, will her relationship with Ross be put to the test? So it's just going to be a cute read. I like again that the cover was by the water and there's a lighthouse there. When we go to Port Credit, me and my partner Leaf, we like walking the water, and there's a lighthouse there too. And I just find it so cute. There's only a few books left on the other side, not as many as were on my top shelf. Meant to Be. Now, I loved this cover. I loved the colors. I love that they're on a boat, but I have no idea what it's about. The Kingsley family is American royalty, beloved for their military heroics, political service, and unmatched elegance. In 1967, after Joseph Kingsley Jr. is killed in the tragic accident, his charismatic son inherits the weight of that legacy. But reckless, free-spirited Joe III has trouble meeting the expectations of a nation or those of his exacting mother, Dottie. Meanwhile, Kate Cooper also grew up fatherless, and after her mother marries an abusive man, she is forced to fend for herself. Discovered at age 16 by a model scout, Kate decides that her good looks might be her ticket to a new life. And before long, her face is appearing in magazines and on billboards. Yet she has always felt like a fraud, faking it in the world in which she never truly belonged. When Joe and Kate unexpectedly cross paths, their connection is instant and intense. But their relationships survive. But can their relationship survive the glare of the spotlight and the so-called Kingsley curse? In a beautifully written novel that captures a gilded moment in American history, Emily Gibbon tells the story of 2 people searching for a sense of purpose, as well as the answer to the question, are certain love stories meant to be? I think that's interesting, like, are certain love stories meant to be? Because sometimes in life you meet people and maybe you're meant to be, maybe you're not meant to be, and you kind of question it, and then it's a question of, are you going to explore that and like my current partner, we explored that, and obviously for me and him, it ended up that we were meant to be, and we've been together for 7 years now, and it's just so crazy to think about because the time is flying. Sorry, it's just a little difficult to get the words in the back. There we go. A Funny Kind of Paradise. Now I got this book because the cover has an older woman in a wheelchair on the front, and I always love books with an older main character. I just find sometimes you get a different perspective of life, and I always wonder what my life is going to be at like 60, 70, 80 years old. At nearly 70, following decades of single parenthood and running her own business, Francesca feels she's earned a peaceful retirement. But when a massive stroke leaves her voiceless, partially paralyzed, and wholly reliant on the staff of an extended care facility, it seems her freedom is lost. However, Francesca is still clear-headed and sharp, and she knows one thing: she wants to live. She savors her view of majestic chestnut tree through the hospital window, and speaks in her mind to her beloved friend Anna, dead for 2 years. The daily tasks and dramas of the rotating crew of care aides tether her to the world. Amidst the indignities of bed baths and feeding tube, Francesca is surprised to experience flashes of hilarity and joy, even the blossoming of a new friendship with a fellow patient. But as she reflects to Anna on her dutiful son, Chris, and her troubled and absent daughter, Angelina, she regrets and painful realizations rise to the surface. For the first time, there is nowhere for Francesca to hide from her own choices, and she must reckon with her past before it's too late. A Funny Kind of Paradise is a warm and insightful novel about one woman's opportunity for reinvention, for unconditional love, acceptance, and closure in the unluckiest of places. I think this is going to be interesting. I mean, you're not always guaranteed health. I mean, as you're getting older, even when you're younger, but just seeing from this experience of this woman who is all right in her mind. I always wondered that, like, when you're sharp in your mind, but you're paralyzed, so you know everything that's happening around you, but you can't talk to people, you can't interact with them, you're all in your head. I just wonder what that experience would be like and how scary it would be. So this is going to be interesting. If Only, a novel. So this, again, I bought because I loved the cover. I loved the text, the way they did the cover, the way they wrote the If Only with pictures in it, but I have no idea what it's about. And look, it looks like it takes place in the present, past, and future, which is interesting. I love books that go back and forth from present time to past time. So present. Letty and Alf are the only English speakers in an Italian class in Rome, where they discover the language that really connects them, and it's dance. Letty's first love was ballet, while Alf was a junior ballroom champion. They come from different worlds until the moment they waltz around the Piazza Novana and everything changes. Now the past. But one moment can't change the past, and it's clear that Alf and Letty still have their secrets. What caused them to leave their lives behind in England, and who or what are they running from? As their relationship deepens, it becomes harder and harder to tell the truth. Future. When the unthinkable happens, Letty returns to London and Alf to Blackpool. Will they spend their lives apart or discover a future together? So it should be interesting. It's a love story, obviously, and they're in Italy, which I didn't know, and I've always wanted to travel to Italy and to England. They said that they originally lived in England and escaped their lives from there. So this is going to be really exciting. I think I have 3 books left on the cart to show you, and then we'll be done. The Summer Cottage. Again, I bought this because it's taking place at a cottage, and I always cherish my summers at the cottage with my family. When we were kids, we would go up there in the summer for a week at a time, bring our friends up, we'd go tubing, we'd go water skiing, we'd go swimming, we'd drive into town and, walk the strip, and there were all the little shops, and there was a shop called Mariposa that had pastries, and pretty paintings, and I just love thinking about, when I was younger and when we had that family time together, and the times that I get to go to the cottage now I really cherish. So any books that can bring me back to there, I really like to get. Addie Lou Kruger's ex never understood her affection of what her parents called their cozy cottage, the charming ramshackle summer home, complete with its own set of rules for relaxing that she's inherited on Lake Michigan. But despite the fact she's facing a broken marriage, an empty nest, and middle ages looming in the distance, memories of happy childhoods on the beach give her reason for hope. She's determined not to let her husband's affair with a grad student reduce her to a cliche, or to waste one more minute in a career she doesn't love. So it becomes clear that Addie Lou must do what she must do, rebuild her life and restore her cottage shingle by shingle on her terms. But converting the beloved weather-beaten structure into a bed and breakfast isn't quite the efficient home reno experience she's seen on TV. Pushback from Saugatuck's contentious preservation society, costly surprises, and demanding guests were not part of the plan. But as the cottage comes back to life, Addie Lou does too, finding support in unexpected places and a new love story on the horizon. One cottage rule at a time, Addie Lou reclaims her own strength, history, and joy by rediscovering the magic in every sunset and sandcastle. So this is going to be exciting. They're building a bed and breakfast, and I've always wanted to go to a little bed and breakfast in a little town by the water, and I think it's going to be a really exciting read. And there's actually now 3 books left, so this was the 4th book left. For now, I'll put this here and I'll put them back after. Oh, this is Girl Abroad, and it's an Indigo exclusive. I've never read Elle Kennedy before, but I keep seeing her books everywhere, so I wanted to buy one and see if I can get into this author or not. When 19-year-old Abby Bly gets the opportunity to study abroad for a year in London, it's a perfect chance to finally slip out from under the thumb of her beloved but overbearing retired rock star father. She's ready to be free, to discover herself, but first off, to meet the girl she's rooming with. That is, until she arrives at her gorgeous new flat to discover those roommates are actually all boys. Charming, funny, insufferably attractive boys, and off limits, with a rule against fraternizing between housemates after unwanted drama with the previous girl. Abby has never considered herself a rule breaker, but soon she's lying to her father about her living situation and falling for not one but 2 men she can't have. Her rugby player roommate, and a brooding musician with a girlfriend. Not to mention her research for school has gotten her tangled in a deeply hidden scandal of a high nobility family surrounding her in secrets on all sides. If there's any hope of Abby finding love, answers, or a future in London, she'll have to decide which rules and hearts might be worth breaking. So, someone in love with 2 men, well, or at least in like with 2 men, one with a girlfriend and one that they're living with. It should be interesting. I always find it interesting to read about women who are 19, 20 to 25 or early 20s, because it just brings me back to that time, and it makes me think about everything I learned at that age, and then it makes me think about, I'm going to be 40 in the next few years, so what kind of wisdom, what am I going to experience before that time? So I think I'm going to really enjoy this, and I'm just going to pile them on top of here for now. Ooh, the Library of Lost and Found. So obviously I bought this book because it says library in the title. Like I said, anything library. It says on the front, great new summer read. It's not new anymore. I got this a long time ago, but hopefully I get to these soon. Librarian Martha Storm has always found it easier to connect with books and people, though not for lack of trying. She keeps careful lists of how to help others in her superhero-themed notebook, and yet sometimes it feels like she's invisible. All of that changes when a book of fairy tales arrives on her doorstep. Inside, Martha finds a dedication written to her by her best friend, her grandmother Zelda, who died under mysterious circumstances years earlier. When Martha discovers a clue within the book that her grandmother may still be alive, she becomes determined to discover the truth. As she delves deeper into Zelda's past, she unwittingly reveals a family secret that will change her life forever. Filled with Phaedra Patrick's signature charm and vivid characters, The Library of Lost and Found is a heartwarming and poignant tale of how one woman must take control of her destiny to write her own happy ending. So I think this is going to be exciting because she finds information about her grandmother and is following that, and that's actually similar to the book that I'm reading. It's not reading, the book that I'm writing. The main character is looking for her grandmother, and that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to ruin my book for anybody, but I really had a good relationship with my own grandmother. I call her Nonna because I'm Italian, but for you guys it's grandmother, and that's what inspired me to write the novel I'm writing, that relationship. Our relationship isn't in the novel, it's not like a story about me and my grandmother, but just that relationship inspired me to write a story about what if your grandmother passed away, because mine did, but then she might not actually be dead. So I thought that would be interesting. Isn't that what everybody hopes for? Oh, that was the last book. So that's my second shelf for my to be read cart. I'm really excited for all these titles. They're all obviously love stories, cottage stories, beach stories, library stories, taking place in the now, past, future. I'm excited for this. I will do the third shelf sooner rather than later. It won't take 9 months this time. I'm trying to keep up with my YouTube videos and kind of get more comfortable in front of the camera and with my lighting setup. So bear with me while I'm learning, and thank you so much for stopping by. Subscribe if you haven't, and let me know in the comments any romance books I should add to my to be read cart. Thanks guys.